guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today I am bringing you my March book haul. I know that I am supposed to be better about buying books and acquiring books, but this month was a major slip up for me. I was really bad. I have so many books to haul for you guys today, like it's slightly ridiculous. I have 24 books to haul for you guys today, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start out with books that I received in the post, either from publishers or book subscription boxes or from friendly internet people. So I'm going to get this one out of the way first because it's still, I feel, within the spoiler window for the Fairy Loot box. So if you don't want to see the book that came with the March Fairy Loot box, then skip ahead a little bit. So this is The State of Sorrow by Melinda Salisbury. What I love about this is that this is actually a hardcover edition. It's such a beautiful book. It's kind of a shame they didn't do an initial hardcover for it just for everyone. So I had already started reading this book long before the Fairy Loot box came, but I had put it aside for a while because I just wasn't in the mood, but I ended up finishing the book with this edition. I've already talked about this book in my March wrap-up video, so I'm not going to talk about it more. The next book that I have is from Dome Press, so thank you so much for sending this to me. This is Juliet and Romeo, and this is by David Hewson. So this is the story of Romeo and Juliet as we know it, however it has sort of a romantic thriller twist to it. And I haven't read it yet. I know that I'm going to be part of the blog tour for this book in May, so I feel like the pressure is off for now, but I'm going to be picking this one up soon. I'm really curious to see what it's like. So next up on the list is a review copy of From Darkest Stars. This is by Sam Peters. So if you have watched my spring cleaning readathon video, I actually have the first book as well, and this is on the TBR for that readathon, which I'm in the midst of right now. Obviously, is the second book in this series. I haven't read this one yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. It looks fantastic. I talk about these books in that video, so I'm going to save you guys some time. If you want to check that out, I will link it below. So the next book I am so excited about. I think this is one I'm going to read really soon. It combines so many different things that I absolutely love. I know it's a debut author as well, and I cannot wait to read this. This is Empire of Silence, and this is by Christopher Ruocchio, and I apologize if I'm saying your name incorrectly. So this book, look at it. It's absolutely massive. It looks like it's about 800 pages long, which is music to my ears, to be perfectly honest. And this combines two of my favorite genres, which is epic fantasy and space opera. So this book, it looks like, follows a character named Hadrian Marlowe, and depending on which side you're on, he is either praised as a hero or despised as a murderer. And it kind of chronicles his life and what has happened to him. I don't know much about this one, but it looks really cool. There's something about this that just seems so incredibly exciting. This is one of my priorities for April. It doesn't come out until July of this year, but I don't care. I'm going to read it soon anyway. So the next three are from Bookbridger, which is a site that's sort of like NetGalley, but instead of digital copies of books, you can request physical copies of books. So the very first one that I have here is The History of Heavy Metal. This is by Andrew O'Neill. So it sounds like this book is based on Andrew O'Neill's sort of comedy show that he's performed in all sorts of places, and he's converted it into book form. So it sounds like it's going to be incredibly fun and also very informative. It might not look like it, but I am actually quite a fan of certain genres of heavy metal. So this is going to be really fun. I'm very much looking forward to this book. So next up from Bookbridger, I have Kin, and this is by Snorri Christensen. So if you've been following me on Twitter, I am super back into Skyrim, which is a very kind of Nordic Viking type game if you've never played it before. And so this sounds like it's going to fit that Skyrim obsession perfectly. So this is kind of historical fiction with a crime thriller twist. So it follows this Viking family who have all returned home and someone ends up being murdered. I don't know much about this one. It looks super cool. I'm really excited for this one, and I think I'm going to read it soon. So the last of my Bookbridger books is The Keeper of Lost Things. This is by Ruth Hogan. So I believe that Ruth Hogan tends to write short stories, and I think this is her very first novel. I've never read any of her stuff before, but I've heard wonderful things about this book so far. So this book follows Andrew Peardew, and he has spent half his life collecting lost objects, trying to atone for a promise broken many years ago. Realizing he's running out of time, he leaves his house and all of its lost treasures to his assistant Laura, the only person he can trust to reunite thousands of objects to their rightful owners. The final wishes of the Keeper of Lost Things have unforeseen repercussions, which trigger a most serendipitous series of encounters. This sounds like it's incredibly heartwarming, this sounds like it's lovely, and it's going to be a big difference between my Viking crime thriller and my history of heavy metal. So I'm looking forward to this. It feels like it's going to be a little bit fluffier than things I usually like, but that's not a bad thing. The very last book that I have to show you that I received in the post is The Upside of Unrequited, and this is by Becky Albertalli. So Sarah sent this to me, so thank you so much, Sarah. I really, really appreciate it. So the movie Love, Simon has been out for a little bit. I think it's coming out here in the UK quite soon, and it has been making waves in a lot of really wonderful ways for especially sort of teenagers who are going to see this movie. It's obviously based on the book Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda by the same author, which I have somewhere up there and I need to read. This is a companion book to Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda. I usually actually don't like contemporary YA, but there's something about, I think, the world that Becky Albertalli has built and sort of the wonderful reactions that people have had to her books that I really, really want to read this. I don't know much about it. I know that it is a companion novel, but not a sequel, and I'm looking forward to it. I really do want to read these. I know that the third one, Leah on the Offbeat, is coming out later this year as well. So if I like these two, then I have a third one to go for as well. So now we have the books that I bought this month. There's a lot of them. I'm going to try to go through them fairly quickly. So here we go. First up, I have 4 books. So these are 4 of the Penguin Little Classics. I talked about 2 of these in my previous video, so I'm not going to go through them all again. The other 2 are kind of self-explanatory. We have Shirley Jackson's The Missing Girl, Daphne du Maurier's The Breakthrough, we have Chinua Achebe's Africa's Tarnished Name, and finally we have Letter from Birmingham Jail by Martin Luther King Jr. Next up we have my highly anticipated releases that I just couldn't resist. I'm pretty sure I didn't haul this last month. I don't think I hauled anything last month because life got too busy. But if I did accidentally show this to you guys already, then I apologize. So this is Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. Again, I am reading this for my spring cleaning readathon. I talk about it in that video. If you want to hear more, I will link that below. Next up we have a book that is probably one of the most beautiful that is coming out this year. This is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I know very little about this book, I'm not gonna lie. It looks beautiful, it sounds wonderful, so I bought it. I couldn't help myself. Come on. So this book takes place in 18th century Cairo, and it follows a young woman named Nari who is sort of a con artist. So from what I can tell, this book is kind of part historical fiction, 18th century Cairo, but also brings in a lot of the sort of tales of the jinn and the old world, and it combines these two very artfully. Again, I don't know much about this book. It sounds wonderful. I'm really looking forward to reading this soon. This is definitely one of my books for April. The next book that I have on the list is The Wicked Deep by Shea Ernshaw. So I believe this book was actually just picked up by Netflix or Amazon for a TV show or movie, which is very, very exciting. So this book takes place in a town where 200 years prior, 3 sisters were accused, tried, and executed for witchcraft. Ever since then, they come back kind of as siren-type characters and lure people to their watery graves. So this book follows Penny, and on the eve of the sisters' return, a young man comes into town, has no idea what's going on, and she sort of jumps into action, and this changes everything. I have heard amazing things about this book. Really, really fantastic things. It's very short. It's not very long at all. It's a beautiful book. Like, look at the inside of this. So yeah, no, I kind of bought it on a whim. It was one that I was really interested in, and I really like the author. She did one of the Sunday YA chats on Twitter, and I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is going to be one that I really love. It sounds like it's a different take on fantasy than I am used to, so I'm looking forward to this a lot. So the next up that I have for new releases is Orphan Monster Spy, and this is by Matt Killeen. So all I can say about this book, which I think gets the point across really well, is it's about a young Jewish girl. She's an orphan, and she is sent undercover to spy in a Nazi boarding school. It sounds really cool. I'm liking the idea of historical fiction in YA. It's something that I don't read much of. When I do read YA, it tends to be fantasy. So I'm going to power through the next ones because none of them are new releases, and a lot of them will be probably at least somewhat familiar to you guys. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, The Bone Witch by Rune Chipeko, Some Witness by Agatha Christie, Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I have to say, really quickly, just to pause, I'm so excited for this book. I loved the movie so much. The Wanderers by Meg Howrey, There and Found Parts by Sarah Maria Griffin. Battle Royale by Koshun Takami. This is the novel version rather than the graphic novel version. Sons of Dawn by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And finally, Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. So I hope that wasn't too long. There's a lot of books here. There are a lot of books to talk about, and quite frankly, I'm gonna have a lot of work shelving all of these. So if you have read any of these books and you think there are some that maybe I should prioritize over others, if you have any of these in your TBR, if you are unfamiliar with some of them, then definitely let me know. I would love to hear from you. So that is it for this video. If you enjoyed this, then definitely hit subscribe, and I will see you next time.